Season 2 of Star Trek Picard has just released, and it seems they've listened to the criticisms of Season 1 and given us a plethora of Starfleet ships to be seen on screen. Episode 1 sees a large Starfleet task force join up with the USS Stargazer to investigate the mysterious space anomaly that may be threatening the galaxy. We've got a fair few ships that are well known in the Star Trek universe, but also some new entries that might impress fans based on their legacy. Today we'll dive in and give you all the details. Spoiler warning, we'll be discussing elements of Star Trek Picard in full detail. You have been warned. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack. Let's get straight into it. Star Trek Picard Season 2 has just arrived on our screens, and with that a whole new adventure waits for our ragtag crew. But before we can get to the new frontier that awaits them, we're here today to talk about the numerous starships we see in the first episode of Season 2. They definitely heard the criticisms from last season, and right off the bat we get around 18 ship classes seen in the first episode alone. So let's take a look at what ships we see on screen and where we might have seen them before. As always, as your second warning, this is about the first episode of Star Trek Picard Season 2 titled The Stargazer. If you've not watched the episode, then be aware there will be spoilers. Once again, you have been warned. Before we do dive into the video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can of course follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. As always, please know your thoughts in the video comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Okay? Engage. So let's start with a big fleet that confronts a Borg ship in the first episode of Star Trek Picard Season 2. This fleet seems to have arrived to the Stargazer location, likely at the request of Captain Chris Rios, informing Starfleet Command that they've made contact with the Borg.
Dale. Make it so.
The pressure of legacy. It's your own fault, you know. No one told you to accept a command with baggage.
At the forefront is the brand new USS Stargazer, NCC 82893, with the previous Stargazer being captained by Jean-Luc Picard, being the NCC 2893. This is a brand new ship of a Sagan class, possibly named after American astronomer Carl Sagan. The ship seems to be hot off the shipyards, and is equipped with a new technology derived from Borg technology uncovered from the artifact and the Borg Reclamation Project. For those of you who don't know or perhaps don't remember, the artifact was the abandoned Borg cube in Romulan space, which Hugh oversaw the Reclamation Project for, under the Romulan Free States. This project had scientists from the Federation working on the cube to extract technology from it, so it seems like the project bore fruit, and the fruit is a massive ship called the USS Stargazer. Of course, following the death of Hugh and the Zhat-Vash Telsiar's attempt to purge the artifact of all remaining Borg Joes and XBs, the cube was taken over by 7 of 9, who took it to Coppelius via transport conduits to assist Jean-Luc Picard. The resulting action saw the cube crash on the surface, waiting for support. We could theorize that eventually, following the lifting of the synth ban, the Starfleet would attempt to salvage parts of the cube. This would explain how the Stargazer has access to more tech.
I was about to ask the same.
What the hell did you do to my ship?
Correction, my ship.
Look after her, I said.
Instead, I used her to take care of others.
Now where would Star Trek Picard be without our hero ship, the La Serena, a Kaplan F-17 speed freighter, previously owned by Christopher Rios after he was discharged from Starfleet, and is now in the possession of Fenris Ranger, 7 of 9, who's using the ship to transport medical supplies, and possibly other missions for the Fenris Rangers. It looks a little less shiny since we last saw it, but I guess Rios cared about the ship's appearance, where 7 is more for functionality over appearance herself. The class of our USS Enterprise E, the Sovereign class, is on full display during the fleet shots of this episode. This ship class saw action during the Battle of a Briar Patch, the Battle of Sector 001, and the Battle of a Basin Rift. She was definitely an extremely sturdy starship. I highly doubt the Sovereigns we see here are in fact the Enterprise E, if E is still even in service. We say that we still dream of the Odyssey class USS Enterprise F if on screen one day, a man can dream. And surely they would have mentioned the Enterprise helping him if it was actually on screen here. These two Sovereign classes mark the first time we've seen him outside of the Star Trek films, and the first time we've seen one of his classes that is not the USS Enterprise E. Hopefully we see more of them in the future as well, now that would be fantastic. Akira class ships are seen in the first episode, most notably the USS Avalon, the first ship to encounter the subspace anomaly created by the Borg. Though talking of the Borg, the Akira class was one of the ships designed to specifically help deal with the Borg threat. And even though the Borg threat did not massively come true as they feared it would, the Akira would serve as a prominent role during the Dominion War and the Battle of Sector 001. A ship which many are happy to see is the Luna class. For those who might not know, the Luna class was the ship which the USS Titan was, which is Captain Riker's ship. Though he has retired as of 2401 when this episode takes place. One of his ships could be the USS Titan, perhaps under the command of Captain Christine Vale, who is Riker's second in command on board the Titan. These ships were designed by Sean Tongu, who I'm sure is extremely happy since this is the first time the Lunar class has been seen in a Trek series now, with the first appearance being the actual USS Titan in Star Trek Lower Decks, the animated series. Though the Miranda class seems to have phased out, we're still left with the old reliable, and this is the Excelsior class, with it possibly being the same USS Excelsior NCC 2000, which is under command originally by Captain Stiles, and then the better captain who doesn't carry a stick around with him, Captain Hiraki Sulu. The ship helped during a practice incident when the Klingon moon was destroyed, and the ship was also the station of Tuvok before he went to be Chief of Security and Chief Tactical Officer aboard the USS Voyager. Personally, I doubt this is the same Excelsior that Sulu once commanded, instead being another simply named that. So far details point to this being a brand new Excelsior for the time being. Commander Rafi Musica is on board the Excelsior along with Cadet Elnor. A fan favourite Starfleet ship from Star Trek Picard Season 1, even though it's the only Starfleet ship in Picard Season 1 somewhat, is the Inquiry class. The last time we saw the Inquiry class was when a fleet of ships, headed by the USS Zheng He under the command of Captain William T. Riker, stood off against the Zhat Vash fleet over Synth homeworld. If you'd like to know more about this class of ship, which is billed as Starfleet's toughest ship class, we did a breakdown of it last year, narrated by our great Lieutenant Adams, so check that out if you haven't already. One of the great things in this fleet is we actually have ships from the MMO video game Star Trek Online making their appearance. Star Trek Online designers Thomas Morone and Hector Ritz were credited by production designer Dave Blass for working on Season 2 of the show, and it seems we found out what that meant. So let's take a look at some of the Star Trek Online ships which have been seen in the fleet. The Sutherland Advanced Research Vessel is a refit of a Nebula-class vessel. In Star Trek Online, the Southern class is built to support fleet actions, as well as stand tall on its own through the use of tachyon-based tech. The ship is equipped with a tachyon particle field emitter, allowing it to drain energy shields and restore the shields of allies in battle. Whether this is the case, this ship class seen in Star Trek Picard is unknown, since the ship was made from an MMORPG and has to have a somewhat unique element to it, and this ship class could just be an updated Nebula with no gimmick to it. The principle applies to the rest of the ships, with the only thing we know is they look like Star Trek ships. The Gagarin Miracle Worker Battlecruiser is another Star Trek Online ship in the fleet, with the Gagarin fascinating enough being a refit of a Discovery-era starship, the Shepard class, with 7 of these classes being present in the Battle of the Binary Stars and throughout the Klingon Federation War of 2256. Fun fact, I actually fly the ship in Star Trek Online myself. Supposedly this means, just as in the Star Trek Line story, the Discovery-era ship designs were revisited during the 20th century, the same thing that happened during the Prime timeline. This could explain away something in the short trek Children of Mars, where Discovery-era ships were seen in dry dock on Utopia Planitia, perhaps while creating the Wallenberg-class freighters for the Romulan relocation fleet. Starfleet were also looking at refitting and rebuilding ships using older Discovery-era tech, and then updating them for modern times. Anyway, the unique aspect of the Gagarin class was its unique EPS conduit routing and new advanced tactical matrices. This could still be the case for Star Trek Picard. The next Star Trek Line ship we see in the fleet is the legendary Ross Command Exploration Cruiser, or Ross class for short. This ship looks like a Galaxy class, but was actually constructed from modifications that Geordi LaForge and Data were making on the Galaxy class Enterprise D. The ship was commissioned in the 2380s and was combined visually of the Galaxy class and the Sovereign class. An interesting mix. Now, what is fascinating about this ship class is that it is the ship used in the Star Trek Adventures role-playing show Clear Skies, with the USS Ross pioneering many advanced technologies that would go on to become standard on Starfleet ships in the 25th century. I would actually really like it if they go on to actually make this the same USS Ross, because even if it would not officially canonize the Clear Skies role-playing show, it would be a nice nod towards them. Named after the USS Reliant, the Reliant-class was an upgraded version of the old faithful Miranda-class, which is a ship class which saw one of the longest services, so definitely was time to upgrade after how many Mirandas were probably lost during the Dominion War. The Reliant class modernized the utilitarian aspects of the Miranda design, with a strong focus on mobility and utility, while improving overall capabilities of its workhorse cruiser. While those were all the ships seen in the Starfleet Task Force, there is one more ship which is worth mentioning during those scenes, and that is a Borg ship. Now, in a scene where cadets are getting their cadet assignments to serve on starships, we see a whole host of Starfleet ships on display, of famous ships in Trek's past. So let's quickly take a look at them. The first ship we'll talk about that is on display is the USS Leon deGrance, a Walker-class ship. Yes, the same class as the USS Shenzhou, but then I guess you're wondering why the USS Leon deGrance is there and not the Shenzhou being on display as well. We don't know the reason why the Leon deGrance is so famous to Starfleet, but we do know that Picard was inducted into the Speed of Light Club while piloting the Leon deGrance. It seems to me that being inducted you have to travel at the speed of light on a ship, presumably not while at warp maybe. But Picard does have a certificate for being inducted into his club, and on that certificate is a picture of a USS Leon de Grance. We'll skip mentioning the Excelsior class again because we saw it in the fleet, but it is on displays too, so keep an eye out for it. An Intrepid-class ship can be seen on displays. Whether this is the USS Voyager is unknown, as it's too hard to make out. It could even be the USS Bellerophon, but I'm pretty sure it's probably the USS Voyager, since the USS Voyager, which you should know, was a ship in Star Trek Voyager that made a 70,000 light-year journey to return home after being stranded in the Delta Quadrant. Not only is the updated USS Stargazer in this episode, but a picture of the old USS Stargazer which Picard took command of. The ship was famous for Picard performing a Picard maneuvering, where he went out and warped to appear on the enemy's sensors twice. The plaque shows that the Stargazer is on display, so presumably this Stargazer might have been turned into a museum ship, similar to how the USS Voyager was turned into a museum in the Endgame timeline. A display for the USS Enterprise D can be seen behind Elnor, which obviously was Picard's second command and the flagship of the fleet. A Galaxy class which went on numerous missions and was ultimately destroyed over the Battle of Viridian 3, when dealing with the Nexus, the Jura Sisters, and the mad alien scientist Tolan Saran. A painting of the Enterprise D can also be seen behind Picard's desk on Chateau Picard. This is the same painting seen in his ready room on the Enterprise D itself, and even has scorch marks around the board of the painting, after it was recovered from the wreckage of the Enterprise D on Viridian 3. We may have a Reliant-class in the big fleet, but we get a display dedicated to the Miranda-class USS Reliant. This ship was captained by Captain Terrell, whose second officer was Pavel Chekhov. Unfortunately, the ship was taken over by Khan before being destroyed in the creation of a Genesis planet in the Mutara Nebula. Now, the last hidden starships in this first episode of Picard we'll talk about in some of the models and paintings seen in the episode. Let's talk about a ship in a bottle. In the Star Trek Next Generation episode Booby Trap, Picard talks about how when he was a child, he would make ships in bottles, notably a Promelian battlecruiser. A Promelian battlecruiser in a bottle can be seen in Chateau Picard, and uses a Hero Collector model of a Promelian battlecruiser for the prop, which is actually amazing. In Picard's study at Chateau Picard, here is a model of the USS Enterprise C, an Ambassador-class starship, which is the first ship aboard the name Enterprise, before the USS Enterprise D. The ship was destroyed at the Battle of Miranda 3, where it sacrificed itself to save a Klingon colony, which eventually led to a more lasting peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. There was also an entire situation where it accidentally went to the future, creating a timeline in which the Federation was at war with the Klingons, but returned to the past, allowing this timeline to be never created in the first place. Let's talk for Stargazer. Now, many of you thought that the new Stargazer, which is being captained by Christopher Rios, was the only new Stargazer we're going to be getting, but there is another. In a conference room of the USS Stargazer, we see 3 models of the Stargazers up on the wall. One of the modern version under Rios, and one of the older version under Picard, and then another. At first I thought this might have been Rios' previous command, but it turns out to be another USS Stargazer from a TOS era, in roughly 2265. The design was created by Bill Krause, a fan who has a very distinct TOS era ship design, so I'm thrilled that he's working on the show and got the pleasure of contributing to it. The very fascinating thing about this, however, is that considering Akiva Goldsman is executive producer on both Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and they're seeding a TOS era Stargazer in the show, could we perhaps see a USS Stargazer in Strange New Worlds, which would be an amazing thing to see. Hopefully they do this, as it would just add so much reasonable connectivity between these shows. Okay, that was our breakdown on all the hidden ships we were able to see in the first episode of Star Trek Picard Season 2. We know we're going to be seeing Steamrunners sometime in the future, but what other ships could we see? Oh, and also we're seeing Nova classes. So who knows what's possible. This wasn't one of our conventional ship breakdowns where we talk about the ship technical specifications, lore, and behind the scenes etc. So if you'd like us to do any of those ships in more detail, please let us know down below in the comments, because if you are talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can of course follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.